Everyone, welcome to Early Care Connection. I'm Izzy Greenberg. Today we are joined by our resident panel of experts, Meryl Gay from the Connecticut Early Childhood Alliance and Ava Bermudez-Zimmerman from the Child Care for Connecticut's Future campaign. We also have some really excellent presentations for you today on energy efficiency, on various statewide programs for both residential and commercial. There's an interesting flow to today. We're going to start with residential to get everyone grounded in the concepts and move into commercial. So if one segment isn't appropriate for you and your team, the next one probably will be. So I urge you to stick with us. We also have the ability, obviously, as usual, to record this and post it after the fact. And so we will post this along with all of the PowerPoint presentations for today on our website, earlycareconnection.org, after this, in the next 24 hours or so, and you'll be able to see it there. Just a reminder to everyone that you can use the chat for any technical difficulties you might be having, or to communicate with the community. But if you have questions for our panel of experts and guests, please use the Q&A, and please wait to answer your, to ask your questions for when the segment that's appropriate is up. That makes it a lot easier for us to get through the Q&A. So I am going to start today with, we have three primary presenters today. We have Devin Williamson, the Community Engagement and Marketing Specialist for Energy Efficiency at Eversource. We have Colleen Morrison, Program Manager of the Small Business Energy Efficiency Program for United Illuminated Small Business Program, and Bill Collinis, the Connecticut Green Bank Manager of Homeowner Outreach. So there's a huge team here behind the scenes, also here to help, but I'm going to start out with Devin, turn it over to her and let her explain her program to you. Devin, you're up. Welcome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Izzy. Just bear with me just a moment, everyone, while I get situated with my presentation.
No problem.
Okay. All right. Can everyone see my screen?
Yep, we see.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you again, Izzy, for that welcoming introduction. And as she just shared, I do have a fleet of my colleagues joining me today. So first, you're going to hear from me in regards to home weatherization, making to save money and energy at home. Then you're going to hear from my colleague at Avangrid, Colleen Morrison, who is the Small Business Energy Efficiency Program Manager. And we are so excited to bring this presentation to you today and hope that you have lots of questions for us. And we want to be sure that you feel supported with the information that you receive today about these programs and you know how to access them following our presentations. So, and again, as Izzy said, we are going to start with residential weatherization, just because people, it's a great way to get grounded and to understand energy efficiency through your home, and then how that can be applied to your business. So please bear with us. I do have a fairly short presentation today, and then we'll get into our commercial programs that Colleen will cover momentarily. So with that, residential weatherization. We're going to cover 6 items today. What is energy efficiency, weatherization, home energy solutions, which is a program that homeowners and renters can access, and then to save money and energy, and then how to enroll. That's the most important part. And then I think we're going to save questions to the end if I'm not mistaken. And of course, thank you. because without our audience, we wouldn't have a presentation.
Devin, if I can just ask, do you prefer me to launch the poll now or wait until you finished your presentation?
Why don't we wait until so folks are focused on the presentation, but we do have a poll that will be coming up, and that will definitely inform our Q&A.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm. So what is energy efficiency? This presentation is very important, but we also want to be sure that people understand what energy efficiency is. So energy efficiency is about making your home, your business, about making a structure run better. It's about optimizing the performance of your home or your commercial structure. Energy conservation is about not using any energy. So those are two things that we hear a lot about. You want to save energy, but you also need energy. If we didn't have electricity, we wouldn't be having this presentation today. But we also need to be sure that we're using our system smarter. So energy efficiency examples of that might be motion detecting lights, so that the light is on for safety when people are using the structure when they're inside, versus energy conservation is just about not using it at all. So a brief word, and apologies, this slide is not translated. It's the only one that is not translated. Energize Connecticut is Eversource, where I work, Avangrid, where Colleen works, and their subsidiaries, Connecticut Natural Gas, Southern Connecticut Gas, United Illuminating, and the Energy Efficiency Board of Connecticut, and the Connecticut Green Bank, who you'll hear from momentarily as well, and the state of Connecticut, who have united on a shared mission to provide Connecticut residents and businesses the resources that they need to save money and to use clean energy. And this empowers our communities here in Connecticut to make smart energy choices now and in the future. So, weatherization. So what is weatherization? That is the process of making your home better protected against the effects of changing weather. This includes air sealing, duct sealing, insulation, windows, and other measures that you can do to implement into your home to make sure that your home is more comfortable year-round and you're saving money and energy. So why should you weatherize? Reduces your energy bill, saving you money. Optimizes your HVAC system performance. Your HVAC is how your home is run for heating and cooling. Makes your home cleaner and more comfortable, and helps maintain the temperature in your home, and helps the environment. So our energy efficiency programs allow us to live more comfortably, reduce our energy consumption, reduce our bills, and results in a cleaner and more comfortable home. So Home Energy Solutions is a program that is a weatherization program for single-family homes as well as multi-family homes that are from 2 units to 4 units. Oh. So Home Energy Solutions is an assessment and service that treats the home as a system to increase efficiency and optimize comfort. It's available to all qualifying homeowner and rental customers for a $75 copay, and there's no copay for income eligible customers. So what do you get with Home Energy Solutions? You receive duct sealing, water saving measures, health and safety tests on heating equipment. So for example, your oil boiler or gas furnace, energy saving lighting for our income eligible customers. There is also the blower door guided air sealing, as well as receiving your home energy report and home energy score. So what do those services mean in terms of benefits? So from these services, you receive reduced costs on your energy bills, less pollen and dust and pests entering your home, reduced noise from outside, better humidity control, minimizing mold and mildew, access to special rebates, for example, on insulation and other products, a lower chance for ice dams on your home's roof and eaves, and a less drafty, more comfortable home year-round. So you schedule your appointment. We'll get to how to enroll momentarily. And certified energy technicians arrive and assess your home. They make on-the-spot energy improvements, some of those that were listed in terms of the services in the previous slide. Receive services valued at an average of roughly $800. Participants save an average of $180 a year on energy bills from these services. This is an average, but this is typically what we see from our customers. And you may be eligible for a rebate for up to 75% off your approved installation project, as well as other opportunities to save. So in addition to all the benefits that this program has for your home, it's also we're also working toward a goal for the state. So we reached over 41,000 homes through Home Energy Solutions in 2022, including more than 6,000 low-income households. We still have more work to do. There is a statewide goal here in Connecticut to weatherize 80% of residential homes by 2030. So now that I've shared all the details about this program, I want to share how to enroll. So there's multiple different ways that you can enroll in Home Energy Solutions. There's an online lead form that's on the Eversource website, and I believe it's also on the Avangrid websites as well, depending on who your electric utility might be, if it's Eversource or UI. You can call Wise Youth. That's for all customers who receive services from UI or Eversource. Call 877-WISE Youth. And that's not just for Home Energy Solutions. That's for the multitude of our other energy efficiency programs, including the ones that we're going to hear from today, this one as well as what Colleen will speak about. And the Home Energy Solutions Income Eligible application is also available online on, I believe, on Energize, EnergizeCT.com. So with that, I did want to say that this is going to be a shorter presentation. We can take questions, but I believe we're going to hold those to the end if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that would be great. Mm-hmm. We can wait until we have at the end of it. Perfect.
Yep. Okay, so I'm going to queue up Colleen's presentation. Just bear with me for just a moment. I'm going to stop sharing my screen.
Colleen, do you want to introduce yourself while she's getting that together?
Yes, my name is Colleen Morrison. I am the program manager for UI's small business program. And I work directly with the team at Eversource. We work together with our group of vendors to come out to your small business. And we, talk to each other every day. I'm going to wait for the presentation before I continue, but I know that we do a number of projects within school systems and daycare centers across the state. So I'm happy to tell you a little bit more about what we offer, including a new program that we launched last year called our micro business program, which works out great typically in daycare centers. I don't know if Devin, you were able to pull it up. I can only see myself on the screen.
I don't believe Devin has started the screen share yet.
Okay.
There you go.
All right. Okay, so I think we can go through the first probably 2 or 3 slides So I am the presenter. I have Rachel on the line too, who works directly with the program at Eversource. I know that Devon did cover this slide in her presentation before, so we're going to move right into this. But we have a couple different strategies we like to follow when we're talking about our programs here. We want to help save energy and cut costs with education services, incentives, and financing for your business. So really, we talk to our contractors that come out and will do an audit at your location. We want to tell you about some case studies and white papers that we do that we submit just to talk about success stories. We offer incentives for new or replacement equipment. We do a ton of lighting retrofits in our program, which means switching out old lights for new. And, offering some controls on your lighting. So, it can be on a sensor. So when you're closed, they'll be off, or, we'll turn on different types of ways to save money on that side. And financing, we have two different options for financing, whether we'll do it on bill with no or low interest, or we can do it off bill depending on what type of financing you select. And I'll get a little bit more into that next. So here's some benefits for our Connecticut customers for our Small Business Energy Advantage program. We will come out and do a no-cost proposal and audit at your facility. So the contractor that goes out, we have 25 contractors in our program, the same ones that work with Eversource as well. They will come out, set up an appointment, and walk through your location. And they're going to point out things that you could do right now to save immediately and things to consider in the future. So we look at different types of things like lighting, refrigeration, some hot water things, and weatherization. We offer, again, 0% financing on your electric utility bill. And we do also have some vendors that will come out and speak other languages. So if you're in need of that, we definitely have vendors that can bring along someone that can translate or speak to you directly in Spanish or English or whatever other language you need. And really, the goal is just to help you reduce your operating costs and your environmental footprint at your location. Our micro business program, this is the best one that we have out there right now. It seemed to really take off for daycare centers and schools. Basically what it is we're offering incentives up to 80% of the project cost for non-equipment measures. So typically, these types of projects would include the lighting, interior and exterior lighting. They'll put some faucet aerators on your sinks and, do some insulation on pipes, things like that if you need to. But that's typically what we see in a daycare center or school. We do have some marketing materials in multiple languages. We also try to encourage Wi-Fi thermostats so that you can control those, on your phone or other ways to control the temperature, either, heat or cooling directly with that thermostat. Our financing options for a micro business project, we offer as low as $500 up to $4,000. And we will spread that across up to 60 months on your electric utility. So let's just say you have a project that's $10,000 and we give you $8,000 of an incentive, which means you don't pay that back. The remaining $2,000 would be spread over 60 months. So that comes out to about $33 a month. So it's pretty affordable. You're going to see results right away. And you don't have to put any money out up front. We would do the work, install the job, and then put the financing on your electric utility bill. If you're doing a larger project, we will finance up to $100,000. So if you have to replace, HVAC systems, things like that, your central air isn't working anymore, we will allow you to do that through our program and finance that. And that, again, would go up to $100,000 of an interest-free loan spent, spread out over 60 months on your bill. If you need more than $100,000, we do have that option as well. It goes through another program or, a third party company that will finance that off your electric bill. But we do have that option for you as well. New this year also, we are offering for you to install electric vehicle charging stations at your small business. And the incentives for those go through the EV charging program. However, we will allow you to finance it directly on your small business project. So, you would be able to pay that back over the period of, 60 months, whatever is not incentivized, but those incentives do flow through another program. So it's a good option to have if you're thinking of adding those electric vehicle chargers to your location. So if you are interested in participating, all you need to do is send an email either to us at UI. The email address is sb@uinet.com. Or if you're in the Eversource territory, it would be sbeact@eversource.com. And we would connect you automatically with one of our contractors. Again, it's a no cost to you and no obligation to do an audit at your location. They're just going to come out and tell you what options you have to think about. And if you're interested, they would go ahead and set up, some scheduled appointments to get the job completed at your location. So this breaks down the project cycle a little bit more. So again, I just told you how, if you're interested, you can reach out directly to us. We're going to look at your usage history to see which program you would fall into. If you are, on the smaller side with less usage, then you would be eligible for the micro business program. Typically schools and daycare centers fit into that category. If you have larger usage, you would fall into our regular small business program, which is, those larger jobs, things like that. The contractor would come out to your location, they would do their audit and come back to the utility and submit the job directly to the utility. We will come out and do a pre-inspection if we need to, depending on the nature of the job. We will draft what we call a proposal and loan documents for the contractor to come back to you with. When you decide that you want to move forward, they would come bring the paperwork, you would sign off on it, and they would start work within 30 days. After that is completed, they're going to come back to us at the utilities and we would either come back and inspect the job or we would go ahead and close it out. We will pay the contractor directly and then apply the loan directly on your electric utility bill. So it's a pretty seamless transition. It seems like a lot of steps on the slide, but it's, you would be talking to the contractor for most of it and, go through the process, and once it's completed, we would then put your loan on your electric utility bill. And that is all I have for today. If anybody has any questions.
We do have some questions. Before we, you can lower that slide if you want. Before we get into that, I'm actually going to launch. We have a poll just to get a sense of how people are using electricity. So if folks who are here could fill out this poll, that'll help us a little bit moving forward. And let me ask some questions while that's up. So, all right, first, this one was actually from Devin's presentation, but okay, so let's see. GM is a part of the UI weatherization program. So that's one question folks had. And I guess the follow-up is if you're not the owner of the apartment business, or, well, I don't think that's a follow-up. That's a separate question. Okay. Is this a part of the UI weatherization program? Let's start there.
Yeah, so I can jump in there. So I think GM was good morning.
Yes, I know. I realized that after I said it.
Got it. Yeah. So going back to that slide regarding Energize Connecticut, both myself and Colleen and a number of our colleagues who joined us today, we all work for the energy efficiency sections of United Illuminating and Eversource. our parent organizations, of course, are Eversource and Avangrid. I know that's all very complicated, but yes, we all offer this weatherization program as part of the Energize Connecticut suite of programs. You can go to energizect.com to learn more about all of the different programs that are available. But bottom line, yes, that is the Home Energy Solutions is the program that is brought to you by Eversource and UI and our subsidiaries, the state, etc. So yes, this is all the same weatherization program.
And if you're not the owner of the apartment business can you still ask for this?
So I will speak regarding if you're a renter of your home, and then Colleen, if you want to jump in about if you're renting the space that your business is in. So for renters, the program is available. However, it does require your landlord to sign off on the assessment, and that is something that is required to happen. We typically find that once landlords understand what this program is doing for not just for their building, but also for their tenants, that there is, we find less resistance, but that is something that you do need to negotiate with your landlord.
Okay, great.
And it's the same process for us in the small business program. If you're not the owner of the building and you're renting space, we do allow the projects to continue. But if you're taking a loan, then we do require that both the owner and the tenant sign off on the loan documents, that they have the understanding that the tenant will be paying it, and it's very clear of who's responsible for the payback of that loan.
Great.
Yeah.
And what Yamilkis is asking, what is the link for this? So I just want to type that in. Which of the links was the one that you'd prefer people to use, or is it the email?
They can use the email address, or they can go to the Energize CT website, and it will have options for the customer if they're residential or commercial, and they can just request an assessment that way as well.
Great. And what's the Energize CT website?
I can put it in the chat if you want to hold on one second.
Okay, if you already have weatherization services in your home, are you able to apply for a second time in a different year?
So I can jump in here since it's regarding your home. The Home Energy Solutions program is available to our customers every 6 years. However, that is in terms of receiving the assessment. If you have if you've received recommendations during your assessment for insulation measures and other add-ons, as we like to call them, you can still continue with that process in terms of like getting a rebate for insulation, because that's beyond that initial assessment that you just received. But the assessment is only available to our customers every 6 years.
Okay. If you have solar, do you qualify? Can you qualify for this program?
For a home?
Well, that's not clear. Maybe you could answer for both.
Yeah, so for your home, actually, the Home Energy Solutions program is a requirement for homeowners in Connecticut to go solar. So if you're thinking about going solar, you do have to sign up for a Home Energy Solutions assessment. And that is, I'll just pitch in a few more details there. You wouldn't want to put solar on top of your roof, for example, if you're going rooftop, which most residential solar is. You want to be sure your roof is in good condition. You don't want to put solar panels on and then find out, oh, I have to replace my roof. Or you're also going to get more bang for your buck if you are putting solar on a home that is weatherized versus putting solar on a home that is not weatherized. It just makes more sense and will pay out in the long run when you make that investment to go solar. Colleen, do you want to speak about solar potentially for your commercial structures?
Yeah, so solar is handled separately. Then we don't have that as part of our small business program. We do have a solar program at UI, and we would just refer customers directly there.
And just to jump off of that is, I'm making recommendations about what you can do to weatherize and make your home energy efficient, but our energy efficiency section does not handle anything in regards to solar energy improvements or add-ons that you would want to do for your home.
Okay. If the community owns the building, if it's, like a municipal building you're renting from the city, do they need to apply, or can you apply as a renter?
I can jump in there, and Colleen, feel free to back me up, but it's about who owns the building. As a renter, anything that you would want to do to your building in regards to from getting a home energy solutions assessment to installing solar, that would all require your landlord sign off. And if you're renting from a municipal building, they would definitely need to be involved in any sort of solar energy investment or even weatherization that's done to that building.
Okay, I'm going to end the poll. I think it'd be good to get our results back. So can you all see that, Devin, Colleen? Okay, great. So we can scroll through. Most people, it looks like, are getting their energy from Eversource, with UI being a second place. Looks like about half of these, the folks on today, have businesses in a residential space, and half are in a commercial space. A few I don't knows, but most people have not participated in the Small Business Energy Advantage program. And most people have not participated in the home program, about 20% only. So we've got a lot of room for energy efficiency in this community. Do you want me to keep this up still? Are you looking at it, or should I stop the share?
That was great information. If you could actually send that to us later, that would be great, just so we can share that information with our colleagues about who we were presenting to.
Yeah, we'd be happy to. We're about to move on to Bill, but before I do, let me just, somebody is saying that they've signed up for this a while back and are waiting for someone to reach out. So they're curious. It's been a few months, it looks like. Now,
okay.
either something went wrong in the application, or is there a long wait list? What can people expect once they begin to begin the process?
Yeah, so I do see that they signed up for community actions, which I believe is referring to the community action agency, potentially, the weatherization program for energy efficiency, and they're waiting for someone to reach out. So there's a couple different energy assistance programs out there. Those are administered by the CAP agencies, like the Community Action Agency, which is a huge CAP agency here in Connecticut. That's a heating and heating assistance program, which is great if you need support with your bills, especially now. It's freezing out there. I am not enjoying this whatsoever. So if you need support with your energy bills, by all means, reach out to your CAP agency. I'm happy to provide more information regarding that. They administer our energy assistance programs, but Community Action Agency is also a provider of the Home Energy Solutions program too. They act as a contractor as well. So it kind of goes hand in hand. If you're looking for energy assistance, make sure you also get Weatherized too. And yes, there is a bit of a wait list right now. Make sure that you have your appointment. If you haven't received your appointment, just please keep calling. I know that that's probably not the support that you'd want to hear from me, but I do implore you to keep calling. Reach out to Wise Use as well, to see if maybe your appointment's been scheduled and somebody hasn't gotten back to you regarding that, but they should. So call Wise Use, 877 Wise Use, to see where you are in the queue. Reach out to Community Action Agency if that's who you're working with as well. We do get high call volumes for these programs. Typically our 877 Wise Use line we receive heavy demands, so we try to give customers a call back or two, but then we have to keep the list moving. So whenever someone says I haven't gotten a call back from Wise Use, by all means keep calling them as well.
Okay. And last question, do you have an income requirement to participate, and is there an initial fee for them to come out? And I guess you could answer for both residential and commercial.
Yeah, so I will take the Home Energy Solutions. So yes, for That $75 copay is for our market rate customers, so those that are not already receiving some sort of assistance program with their utility bill, electric utility bill. This is an income-driven program. This is purely based on what income is coming into your household. The income was just adjusted in the fall for the 2023 to 2024 rates. And I believe like for a household size of one, it starts at something like $41,000. I'm happy to provide that information as well. But that's based on, I think it's, I don't want to misspeak, but it's roughly that. And happy to provide more information about any sort of other programs that can help that are offered to our Eversource customers. I think there was another part of that as well. There was income, and then what was the other?
Is there a fee for them to come out?
And that would be the $75. The income that I was just mentioning, that is to qualify for our income eligible program. And if you do meet those household income limits, then there is no cost. There's a fairly straightforward income verification process, and then you are scheduled for your assessment.
All right. Thank you both so much. I think we're going to move on to our next segment, but if you are available to stay for a few minutes and can look into the Q&A, you can answer. There's a few more questions that are coming in that I think could be answered in writing if you're able to do that. But thank you so much. It is really great to hear about those programs. Okay, we are going to move on to the next segment here. We have Bill Colonis from the CT Green Bank. Bill, I'm going to let you do your best introduction of yourself and your program. Welcome.
Great, thank you. Can you see my screen okay, Izzy?
You see it great. Yeah, thank you.
Excellent, great. Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, Bill Colonis from the Connecticut Green Bank. Before I get started, that's back when you could wear a short sleeve shirt. Those days are in the past at the moment, but they'll be back again. I want to illustrate how important the information that Colleen and Devin has shared with you. I spend my days speaking with homeowners and making sure they can kind of understand and navigate this complex process because energy is just expensive. Whether we're talking oil, natural gas, electricity, it's expensive. And to get a hold of that kind of stuff and as that line item, whether it's at your daycare or at your home, it's difficult, and their programs are extremely effective. And yes, there are wait times, et cetera, but their programs are very extensive and effective, and very important to do before you get into the next step, which I'll talk about is primarily residential financing. Again, I've worked on projects from basically everything in the home, from your HVAC, which is illustrated as heating, ventilation, and air conditioning, to energy efficiency, another acronym, EE, you'll hear. And then I've spent a lot of time on solar PV. So I'm happy to talk about that as well. The Connecticut Green Bank is a quasi-public agency, and I'll go through a couple of these slides quickly in the interest of time, using limited public dollars to attract private capital investment and offer those green solutions that I described for both businesses and residents of the state. I primarily, again, work on residential, so I'll be illustrating that. We are the nation's first green bank. We do finance clean energy and energy efficiency, like I said, leveraging public dollars. We do get money through through ratepayers through the electric utility bill. And the program I'll be illustrating, which is the Smart E loan program, but is eligible in all of UI, Eversource, and I saw in that poll that there's a small amount that might be located in other municipal electric locations, such as Norwich, Groton, and other areas. The Smart E loan program is also eligible there. So it's important to know that. And I think I talked about this, the solutions that we have. And again, primarily, we do have a few incentive programs, meaning an upfront incentive, but really our focus now is on financing those programs because they can be expensive. So we've created a few programs for that. And the primary one that I'll focus on today is the Smart E-Loan. That is eligible for the projects that primarily Devon illustrated for 1 to 4 units. It has to be owner occupied residential properties throughout the state. So again, that small percent that is not in Eversource or UI, this is still eligible for it. The rates range from 6%. I know it's 5.99 to 7.49, but I'm a rounder, so it's 6% to 7.5% um, throughout the state. The little illustration of Connecticut there shows the financial institutions that we've partnered with. So again, we've partnered with private institutions. You've probably heard of most of these banks, depending on your area that you're in. So those 7 financial institutions provide these loans for us, and it's eligible for over 40 measures. Actually, it's well over 40 at this point because we're now adding new stuff for environmental infrastructure. But I won't bore you with that at the moment. But there's probably 50 plus, and there's going to be more measures as time goes on. So if you end up looking at it and say, mine isn't on there right at the moment, chances are it will be. But most energy efficiency and renewables are available through there. The loan amounts from as low as 500 all the way up to 50,000. There are some instances where you can go even more than that with a couple lenders, but for the most part, it's up to $50,000. Fixed monthly payment, no prepayment penalty, unsecured personal loan for available for these type of measures. Again, when I spoke earlier and highlighting Devin and Colleen's work that they do, all that upfront stuff that you can do and reducing the energy consumption of your house. I said earlier, I spend my days doing that with homeowners, and it's just not interesting sometimes, but it works. Okay. So we're talking dollars and cents, and it really does help you downsize or appropriately size any of the systems that you may need to do, whether it's replacing your existing natural gas furnace or changing over. I didn't think about this, but a colleague spoke to me earlier how much hot water usage you might use at a daycare facility. And so there's measures that include the heat pump, hot water heaters. You can read through this as well, but it's basically all the type of equipment for your home for heating and cooling, as well as energy efficiency, hot water. It also includes solar PV, which I'll talk about briefly because I can talk for a long time on solar, but I will talk about briefly going forward. Also includes ground source heat pumps, also known as geothermal, air source heat pumps, which people really seem to know a lot more about now. That's a very typical heating and cooling measure that homeowners want to have this day and age. And they've been working great. There's programs through the utility to incent those units, rebates, upfront rebates, and then you can also finance them, which is probably our most popular measure, financing air source heat pumps. And again, when I talk to homeowners or whoever may have a facility, I encourage them to do the energy efficiency measures first. It's okay if you don't, you can always do it after, but it's just much more appropriate when you get a handle on your home or business, in this case, home, energy consumption, and then you can size the units appropriately. And in a lot of cases, sometimes you can size them smaller than originally spec'd if you get to a certain point, so you actually can save money on the size, and then, of course, the energy usage of that unit. Okay, I will talk a little bit about solar. I tend to go into this a little too much, but I will go to the one slide where I think I've boiled down the questions. I spent a lot of time. I've been doing solar since 2007. I remember the 100th install in Connecticut, and now we're at 50, 60,000 installs. And I think I truly believe solar can work out, but I think homeowners and business owners alike need to be educated on exactly what they're getting into. And it's very straightforward stuff, and it's really exciting to get into solar. But I think when you ask these questions up front or ask them of your installer, I think it makes things a little bit more clear. I won't dig into all 10, but I encourage you, and I'll give you my contact information after that. You're welcome to reach out directly to me. Okay. I spend my days doing this stuff and it can get exhausting sometimes. I can only imagine how exhausted you are running daycare centers. But it's important for people because it helps them understand what they're getting into for a long-term commitment. Solar isn't here for a year or two, it's a 20-year, 25-year, maybe even more commitment. So asking these questions can be helpful, such as your roof orientation. That's just a fancy way of saying which direction it's facing. Do you get a decent amount of solar? There's often obstacles that are called shading obstructions. That could be trees, masonry, plumbing vents, all that kind of stuff. It's good to know that stuff up front, because it really can determine how much that system can produce. What are my financing options? Okay. And I'll go over that in the next slide. And the next two are really related to the contract. Okay, a lot of times it's a little overwhelming upfront looking at these contracts. If you've had someone come to your house trying to sell solar, or if you've gotten to the point and you're like, oh my gosh, this is 30 pages. I'm going to really read that while I'm dealing with kids, etc. You do need to take the time and give it some real effort to know what you're getting into, because most of the problems or concerns that happen with solar are generally over time, and someone doesn't realize something about how this contract is. And oftentimes, and the vast majority of people have great experiences with solar. It's just sometimes there's a little confusion because you're not clear on something up front. That's why reading the contract is so important. And understanding what your production will be. This is getting into the weeds, so I'll kind of stop there. What happens at the end of 20 years or 25 years? Oftentimes these are, 20 to 25-year commitments. What happens at the end? You should really be armed with that education of what goes on. Know a little bit about your roof. You may not know about your roof, but you can have someone assess it or have them assess it, because I'm again, from a day-to-day standpoint, if your roof is 22 years old, putting brand new solar on it may not be your best move. You may need to combine a new roof with solar, which we actually do finance. I'm not selling that. I'm just saying that you should be aware of it and say like, okay, I don't really want to have the solar come off in 7 years when I need to replace my roof. So maybe I'll kind of combine the two if it makes sense. The biggest thing I try and illustrate to people is, do I feel comfortable with what I've been presented with? Okay. There's no need to rush. Everyone gets excited about the new car, a new solar, whatever the case may be. But do you feel comfortable that, yes, I've educated myself. I want to make this commitment. I think it makes sense for my location. I'm going to do it. Those are the questions you really want to make sure that you feel comfortable with. I put the illustration of the squirrel. Does a critter guard make sense? That's more for entertainment value, but there are some considerations. If you do have a lot of trees, or the squirrels are there, they can be a little territorial. So you might want a critter guard up front. These are, again, most of the people that have a solar PV system don't and have this issue, but the ones that do are really surprised. Like, oh my gosh, I really should have had this critter guard put up front because I didn't know I had such tough squirrels, because it does happen. And then a smaller amount is just to make sure it's illustrated with your homeowner insurance as well. Three types of, and I'll try and go a little quicker on this, Izzy, but the three typical types of systems are either leased, or more commonly power purchase agreement, or you can buy them upfront with cash or a loan, like such as the Smart E loan. If you're considering it and you're really serious about it, you can bounce questions off me. I'm thinking this. What about this? I try not to tell you what to do, but I just guide you based on experience how you might want to look at it. Okay. You can read this as well as I can. There's typically escalation measures, 2 to 3% raise of each year. Some offer production guarantees, a power purchase agreement. The biggest difference between that and a lease is typically it's based on the production of that month. So this month, yesterday and day before, probably not great solar producing days. And typically those months are a little bit less. Whereas May, you're like, my gosh, the system is doing fantastic. So the power purchase agreement oscillates with the power production, whereas the lease is static throughout the year. And then, of course, the loan and cash you can do. That's pretty straightforward. I would say most of the systems that had been done over the last several years are primarily power purchase agreements. Prior to that, it was leases, and there's always about 10 to 15% of people that choose to do loan or cash, which I think is a great option for people, again, as long as you're educated on it. We do also, this is a little more cutting edge, but it is available. We do have energy storage solutions. So backup battery for your home. So that's something that's available as well. And we do also offer Green Liberty notes that are available for purchase for people in Connecticut. That's kind of an interesting. You're actually investing in your state with the production of renewable energy systems in Connecticut. So something you can check out at Green Liberty Notes. And I would encourage you. I know we've talked about this already. The website to go to is energizect.com. I'm Bill Colonis at ctgreenbank.com. You obviously have a copy of this, and ctgreenbank.com. It can be, I just want to illustrate from a practical standpoint, is sometimes this can be overwhelming. You look at this stuff and you're like, oh my God, I don't know which way to turn. Take your time, ask questions of myself, Devin, Colleen, whoever, and start spending time to get educated. Because I think a lot of us want to do something, whether it's save money, help the climate, whatever your motivation is. Except sometimes I think for homeowners, particularly, it gets a little overwhelming. Slow it down, talk to people like us, and then we'll try and help you. And then the more educated you get about it, the more comfortable you'll feel about some of this type of stuff. And that is it.
Okay, great. And I just reminded everyone that all of these presentations and the recording will be available at our website, earlycareconnection.org. And I've also popped all of the websites and phone numbers into the chat. So those are also there now for you guys to grab. Okay, so a couple of questions in here, some simple ones, some harder ones. Can your roof leak from solar panels?
Yes, great question. I'm so excited you asked that. It can. So I'll try not to get into the weeds, but I'm happy to bore you at some other time. Is that what the way it's done is that a lag screw goes into an L foot and flashing. If it misses one of the roof rafters or glances off, and don't forget, we all live in New England, right? So it's heating and cooling all year long. So things can slowly move. So they can. So when I talk to homeowners about when they get solar, I encourage them or their installer to go up and do a quick video. Make sure none of the lag screws missed. I know this is a little much. You may not want to go up into your attic. So you can have your installer do it. So, but for the most part, they won't if that's done correctly. But over time, things do heat and cool, things move just a little bit. And just like everything else, your plumbing vents leak, roof shingles can leak because of the heating, cooling, and it may be some improper installation. But for the most part, as long as that's done correctly, it won't. But in the cases that do, it's usually something where it glanced off one of the rafters or something along those lines.
And is that the kind of thing, I have solar and I had a little bit of a spot showing up on the ceiling in my daughter's room. I called the company, they came right out, double checked it, fixed a little thing. It was done super easy. I didn't pay for it. Is that typical that the installation companies have warranty kind of, warranties on it? Is it a big deal if folks do find things like that?
Love that question as well. Yes. Okay. So you're probably have a third party ownership model where someone you lease it or do a power purchase agreement, but the
We bought
own
ours.
you bought ours.
To be
Okay,
clear.
even
Yep,
better.
yep,
So as
yep.
long as the company is still around, they typically, and again, this is on your contract, it'll spell out workmanship warranty, equipment warranties. And usually the good ones, if they see it's based on installer error, even if it's outside of the warranty, they're usually going to address it because they don't want things leaking in your house either. So for the most part, they'll come. The concerns that I deal with, because I deal with the good, bad, and the ugly, is sometimes if an installer goes out of business, but you can also reach out to me because I also know a network of installers, and I'm not going to recommend them, but I'll give you examples of others that may be able to take care of it. So to answer the question, usually it is done upfront. The other thing is remember when I talked about the roofs being older, when you put it on an older roof, and then there is more chances for error. Okay, because of the again the heating and cooling that have gone on. I'm going too deep, but yes, to answer your question.
All right. And I stopped your share just so we could see your face a little bit
Oh,
bigger
thank you.
in
Yeah,
the
yeah,
Q&A. I hope that's all right.
yeah, of course.
And I don't think this is an answerable question, but what is the typical cost to install if you don't get a grant? So there's business, there's residential, there's size of house, there's a million
Yeah.
factors, right?
Yeah. So there's a bunch of different. So sometimes we do it in terms of capacity. So the last I knew, and I'll speak with residential because I'm out of touch with commercial, but I could speak with a colleague, is probably about 350 a watt or 3,500 a kilowatt is a round number. Now, if you get premium modules or you have a steep roof or other considerations, that number is going to go up. If you have a basic one, a single story ranch that's pretty flat and it's pretty easy, it might be down from there. But think about that. So an average system size in Connecticut, it's probably gone up because I'm a little out of touch out of the day to day, is probably about 8 kilowatts. Someone might know better. It might be 8.6, it might be larger, but it depends so much on your usage. But so if you just did that roughly, geez, I should have 8 times 3 is 24 and another four. So it's probably in the $28,000 range. Round numbers, please don't tell me the guy with the nice head of hair told me it was only going to be $28,000. Those, if you do that and don't get a grant from the utility, but they're very much available through UI and Eversource, um, which I would encourage you to get because there's no real reason not to. But if you're in one of those municipalities that don't have the incentive, you still are likely eligible for the 30% federal tax credit if you're to purchase it. So you could do rough numbers. That would be about I don't know, $8,000 off of that. So it'd probably get into the $20,000 range. Again, shooting from the hip here, so don't quote me on any of this, but that's the rough numbers for a home in Connecticut.
And so the idea, I guess, is in your thinking about calculation, if you, I don't know how much people spend on electric, but let's say it's $200 a month, times 12 is $2,400 a year. $20,000 divided by 24 is 8 years,
Yeah,
roughly.
good,
They're
good.
very rough numbers, right?
Yeah.
So it's okay. If you are the amount you pay on your solar loan or whatever it is equivalent to how much you would have spent in your electric, then in 8 years, you'll be clear of the loan and you'll be in solar territory from there on out. Depending on your usage, I understand there's a million factors, but so the equation really is like, how long are you going to be there? And how much are you willing to? So if you're a renter and you say, you know what, I like it here for the next 2 to 3 years, you might not want to go through the headache of it. But is this really like if you feel like you're in it for the long haul, or do short-term folks think about it as well?
I love these questions because this is really the day-to-day stuff, like real considerations. It depends on your priorities, is the way I would go at it. If I'm a renter, I'm really like pushing hard to do the environmental measures because it's going to save you instantly. That's across the board, whether you buy, purchase, anything like that. Purchase power purchase agreement or a lease. I really encourage getting the usage down. But as far as paybacks, it's typically a 7 to 12 year payback. And I know that's quite a range, but it really depends on a lot of factors. So, yeah, 8 years is actually a really good number. Yeah, if you're there for 4 years, you're likely not to get maybe the money back based on the production of the system. But you could look at it as, okay, well, I still feel good about it. The next person is going to use it, that kind of stuff. So really depends on your motivation. But yeah, you should expect an 8 to 10 year rough average on a simple payback. Um, uh, but it with those variables that go into it, it can be less. Depends on the rate of electricity that goes up, but those are general numbers that are pretty good to adhere to.
Great. Meryl or Ava, I don't know if you want to jump in with any questions before we wrap up.
Yeah, I'll take one. What happens if you have, I think you mentioned it briefly, that there's some bad apples out there, and when you do recommendations, you give a longer list, not specific vendors, but when that vendor does fail, maybe the person researched on their own, or they just came across someone who did install, and it was fine in the beginning, but then something happened. Who do you call? Where do you go? And what's the recourse when things go bad? Is it you or is
Yeah,
it
well,
someone else?
it can be me. Yeah. I mean, I've been around for such a long time. I think I know the network. Although I will say this, as I get older and I'm less connected because the utilities have the rebate program, I'm not as into the day to day as I have been. But by nature of my approach, I know the network of the local installers. So the mom and pops, the medium sized one, even the size ones, and even the large ones that have been around. I try to marry up the specific equipment. So when I'm looking at, say, a 10-year-old system that the installer is no longer in business, I have the advantage of looking it up in my database and seeing, oh, okay, this system has this equipment. Here's some installers that you might want to consider. Again, I don't want to recommend anyone specific, but here's ones that I've had experience with in the past that know this equipment. And then what also is good is depending on the equipment that you got. So, and the equipment I'm referring to is inverters and solar modules, et cetera. They also have a network of installers that they use their equipment, so you could reach out to them as well, and I can tell you what equipment you might have. And they might even have other recommendations in the state of Connecticut that might be able to address those systems. And one other thing, in extreme cases, you can also go to the Department of Consumer Protection. So if you've had a really bad experience with, again, vast minority of systems have this, you can also check with the Department of Consumer Protection.
Another additional question, add on to that question, and thank you for answering it. A lot of the people on this call, like mentioned, they're owner operators of childcare spaces, either a childcare center or a home-based childcare business. So it could be a business in a rental property where they live at, but they also care for children in that space, or it could be an owned property where they live at, where they do also childcare. So some of the owner operators on this call, could have scenarios where they've opened a space for the first time, or they've inherited a space that was a child care space. Either or, they might be inheriting solar. They might be inheriting these changes. So if they're not the original contract, right? If they did not purchase, and they're inheriting this child care center, inheriting this apartment, inheriting this house, is it still the same recourse when things go wrong?
Man, I love this. You guys are grilling me with these. I love it. It's so varied. I can't answer that with a blanket response because it really depends on how, and that's why I highlight that contract stuff. It does apply to that second owner or second or third or whoever it may be, and it's important to do that in that due diligence up front. I know it's hard because sometimes especially in this housing market, you're like, I got to get into this place. I'll deal with the solar after. Usually when you're dealing with it after, there's a lot of variables there. It's much better to look at it up front. If it's a purchase, usually you can have some of the equipment warranties transferred over. It depends on the manufacturer. And then it would be great to find out who installed it as a matter of practical approach, and then call that contractor beforehand and say, look, I'm buying this house at 123 Main Street. Can you tell me anything about the system? do that up front. I know it's annoying, but it takes a phone call or an email that can be really advantageous because, again, most of the times people find out they're like, I don't know, I got into this and now my roof might be leaking. Now I don't know how my system's producing. I don't have access to the data monitoring because there's data monitoring systems that will tell you the production of the system. Very easy to translate and access, but you need to get that access. So it's like anything else in life, the more you do up front, the better off you'll be. But what I would suggest is if you can get any documentation on that system prior to getting into it, and then reach out to the installer and then manufacturers. But if not, if you already did it, again, it's okay. You're just going to have to follow it up back, as you go.
I got two more questions, Izzy. One more for Bill, and then one more and then one for everyone. My last question for you, Bill. You went through what is the CT Green Bank in the beginning, and I did see some people jump on a little after they midway. So if you can again just clarify the services and your website of how to contact you. Like you
Yeah,
don't have to
so
go into detail, but the general who do you represent? Who do you help?
Yeah, so I would say ctgreenbank.com. That's the takeaway. You'll find everything right there. And we represent basically most programs throughout the state of Connecticut for renewable energy or energy efficiency for both homeowners and businesses. I do the work with homeowners. And so we primarily finance renewable energy and energy efficiency projects for those entities in the state.
Okay, thank you. And my question for everyone, all the presenters, there is a push to do more green and environmentally conscious childcare. I know that there's a space called Find Us Outside in Newtown that is a outside childcare educational environment. There's also when you get out of the childcare sector, some schools that are also trying to teach and really embrace that, not only the way that they create their curriculum, but also the space that they educate the child that is also eco-friendly. So my question to all of you is, if you have a child care center, a child care space that is trying to, be off the grid, survive off of a cabin or an outdoor space that is just solar, do you still have to pay some sort of bill to an electric company? Could you just be off the grid? Is that allowed?
I could speak in general terms. In general, it is not allowed unless because you usually need a certificate of occupancy, a C of O, people often refer it to. And that usually requires, this isn't my realm of expertise, but typically you have to. There are instances where it might be cost prohibitive to bring an electric service to a remote location. And so there might be a way to get an exception in that regard, but I don't know of how to go about that. I've never actually interacted with people that have done it. I've heard of people discussing it. The way I think in general is the way to look at it from my perspective is to try and get to a more of a net zero type of approach where you can get your consumption down to a much less number than what it had been previously, and then you can potentially get a renewable energy system such as solar to bring it down, and you can kind of net it out. That's a little bit more complicated than say, can I get off the grid? But that's the best way I know from most instances.
That is a more complicated answer. I will let Find Us Outside know. They're based at literally, they're a wilderness school, a wilderness early care school. So yeah.
But see,
Okay.
they might have an opportunity. I don't know. That would take some digging. That would take some
Yeah,
digging.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
By the Office of Early Childhood, who administers the licensings for childcare centers, home based, group homes, etc. There are regulations of making sure that the children are warm enough. So creating a cabin or space outdoors that has solar to give some option for heating when the kids are, yeah. So more
Yeah.
complicated. I will send some people over to you.
Well, yeah, and I mean, they might need a backup source of power, typically a generator,
Correct.
fossil fuel, or battery. I would lean probably towards fossil at that location, but that would be a challenge. That would be a challenge.
Thank you, Izzy.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much, Bill. And there are a couple of questions in the Q&A. I don't know if you're able to just type the answers into those. That would be helpful. And a quick question, do you speak Spanish or does anyone on your team speak Spanish?
I do not speak Spanish. There are a couple of people, they wouldn't be considered official translators, but I think they can get their way through it that are that could speak it enough and I could help work with them. We have done it that way. I think we probably need to bolster that, but there are a couple of people here that can do it. We kind of make our way through it, combine like I talk to them and they translate, etc.
Okay,
What I
great.
did, Bill, and also Devin and your team, I took your PowerPoint presentations and I put them into a Google Doc, just a Word doc, and then translated the content. So when we share this video with our own participants and our mailing list of thousands of providers, we're going to add in that content. I did not alter the layout. It just translated into Spanish.
Great. And actually what I'll do, there is one question in here in Spanish, but I'll put it in there in that is an English interpretation of it so that when you look at it, Bill, you'll be able to at least maybe answer that one in English and then can be run through Translate again. And that's kind of how we do it. So thank you so much, Colleen, Devin, Bill, and all of the team. I know this was an effort getting all of the slides, getting things translated. We really appreciate that. So I know that there's a lot of folks in our community that have questions about this, certainly when the weather changes all the time and the expense of this does keep going up. So I am next going to quickly call on Sherry Sutera, who's going to give an announcement about 211. Sherry, are you available to speak?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
I can. And do you want me to share out the stuff that you sent me, or do you plan to do that?
I'll do that right now. Let me put that in the chat. I don't know if that will go through. It should. Hi, everyone. 211 Childcare is valiantly trying to close out capacity, availability, and enrollment survey. We are using this to help inform members of the Blue Ribbon panel and to plan for stakeholders in the Office of Early Childhood so we can actually show the difference between legally authorized care in the state of Connecticut, what is currently enrolled in those legally authorized slots, and then how many vacancies there actually are or openings. And what it does is it really helps to display, never mind what's on paper, but what is actually offered and how much of that is available. So when we start doing capacity building and planning, the state can make informed decisions on whether use existing programs and provide resources to expand, provide resources so they can utilize their legally authorized capacity as opposed to just building or, procuring new care somewhere. So we have not had a response from centers that I'm comfortable with. I want to make sure that we are valid, statistically valid, and I don't want to have to come up with a formula to project enrollment and vacancy information from those that have not responded to us. So I'm just asking everyone in the field, particularly if you are a center-based program, could you please complete the survey for us? I know you must have survey fatigue. But this actually does benefit our field quite a bit. We also have some $25 gift cards that we will randomly just give out to anyone who has completed the survey. If you have already completed the survey, thank you. If you want to go in and just update your numbers, that would be great. And so again, just any help you guys could give would be great. I think I put everything in the chat. I'm not sure the links open how I did them in the chat, but let me know if I need to figure out another way to do that.
Let's see. I don't see, there are no links there. So if you could just put the URL into the chat, I think that folks will be able to go from there. The links don't come through. Didn't come through for me. All right. Thanks so much, Sherry. Meryl, do you have any announcements?
Just that Congress managed to avert a shutdown. And as far as future early childhood funding, right now it looks like the the best possibility and most likely scenario is that they keep the current early childhood funding flat funded rather than cutting it. So that's sort of where we are in Washington. The Connecticut General Assembly will start the first week of February. And the Early Childhood Caucus will be meeting tomorrow. And then we hope, we are awaiting confirmation that there will be a special caucus meeting on the 30th, which is Tuesday, with Dr. Dana Susskind. But we are awaiting confirmation of that. She's the author of Parent Nation and 30 Million Words. And we hope to have that broadcast on CTN. But also an opportunity for folks to come to the Legislative Office building if that works for them.
Are you doing the Early Childhood Caucus in person, virtual, both?
It will be in person with a remote option. And folks should contact, well, you can contact me if you need to get that remote link. Those meetings are 9 in the morning, or I should check. They're tomorrow morning and on Tuesday mornings.
They're 9 or 9:30, I think.
Yeah, that's what I'm just trying to. Megan from Representative Cook's office handles the reminders and everything for that, but I can get you on that list.
You can type it into the
9:30.
9:30. Yep.
Yeah. And it's room 2600 tomorrow.
Yeah.
All right. So for anybody who wants to be a part of the weekly advocacy for early childhood, it's a great thing to go to. So you'll learn a lot and you'll get a lot of marching orders, and it's a good spot to be.
And a caveat to Meryl's announcement on session and all things having to do with session. For those of you who are experts testifying and you've done it before, fantastic. We're really, the space depends on your voices. You could be against, for, neutral, but either way, say something. Do not stay quiet, because the only way that changes could come to the early care sector and your jobs, your businesses really depend on you staying involved and staying engaged. If you have never testified and you want to learn how to testify, or you prefer not to be in the limelight, you don't want to be on video, you don't want to drive to Hartford because it's too intrusive on your child care day, we get it. There are other ways to stay engaged and share your story and share your voice. So to prepare for all of those scenarios, testifying, not testifying, social media, advocacy, we do have a training on February 21st. That's Wednesday, February 21st at 6:30 p.m. That's through Child Care for Connecticut's Future, hosting it with some key guests, helping us navigate how to share your story and how to make sure that you stay engaged. This is a training. The call will be a little longer than our usual 1 hour. So it's going to be an hour and a half. Again, that's February 22nd. And then there's going to be a follow-up to that.
Wait, 21st or 20th? I think it's 21st.
The 21st, sorry, 21st. I got it right the first time, and then I switched around. Today's the 22nd, yeah. Wednesday, the 21st. Thank you, Izzy, for catching that. And then the 24th, that following Saturday, will be a part 2 of that same call that's going to go into the more expertise of it. So if you're want a quick update of how to do a testimony, and then maybe you don't want to testify, you want to know other ways to share your story to legislators, then definitely come the 21st. If you've done this before, but you want to do a deeper dive on advocacy, then come on the Saturday date, which is the 24th. So we're going to be announcing this to our listserv, but hopefully you all can share and spread the word. Well, anyone's welcome, parents as well.
All right, terrific. Okay, I think that's it. We have, that was a lot of information. So thanks, everyone. We will be back next week, where I think we've stopped for holidays for a little while. We'll be back on weekly, and we'll be back here next Monday morning at 9:30. I hope everybody stays warm and enjoys the week. And we will see you then. Thanks so much.